Becoming a project manager has never been easier. The Lewis Institute, helping to certify project leaders. Welcome to another episode of The Inquisitive Analyst. I'm your host, Marcus Udikang. And as you know, it's this inspiring, informative, and very much inquisitive show. My guest today is a very eloquent and experienced leader. She is currently chair of the board of directors with Shinhan Bank Canada, and she is director of State Bank of India. She was a chair of the risk committee of ICICI Bank Canada in Toronto, and she was senior vice president of RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, in various roles for 13 years. She worked with RBC for a total of 37 years. So please help me welcome to today's show, joining us all the way from Toronto, Pamela Pitz. Welcome, Pamela.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Well, thanks for being on the show. I have a number of questions I want to ask you about leadership. And before we begin, I have to ask you, how did you get started in a leadership role and why?
Well, this is the big question because I was very young when I was first given leadership roles. I don't know, for some reason, people took me under the wing, mentored me, and I started to be promoted in early days in the bank, doing operational administrative tasks. And then at 25, I became a branch manager. And, at that time, thinking about it, and even now sometimes, I wonder actually what it was. I had passion, I had excitement, I liked to learn, I worked hard, but there were people around me that said, I've been here twice as long as you, how do you get to be a branch manager at 25? Especially in those days, female branch manager, I think there was only 2 in all of Royal Bank. And, I really couldn't 100% answer that. I thought about it for many years, but just thought, keep my head down, keep working hard. I had to work anyway, so just keep doing that and things will unfold and I'll just earn more money and everybody will be happy. However, it did intrigue me in terms of what is leadership? Why did this happen to me? What is it about these people that give them the opportunity to be leaders? So, but that's where I started, and that's the honest truth about sort of why that happened.
Fascinating. Now, What are the most important skills needed to be a successful leader, which I'm sure you've learned over your span of 37 years at the RBC Bank? So what are the most important skills needed to be a successful leader?
Well, I think I'll roll back this conversation just a little bit in terms of what I just said about being unaware of why I was really getting the nod for leadership roles. And around the midpoint of my career, I really started asking a lot of questions about that from people that mentored to me, people that were leaders, inside the organization, outside the organization. And what I started to realize is they all had a story. They had a story about some point in time, it could be in their personal life or their career life, where something clicked and a passion built in them that they couldn't really explain, but they knew that was the launching point. I call it unleashing the passion. And when I kind of related that to my own life, I go back to a time with my father. He was quite a difficult man. He didn't take a lot of interest in school. I had 4 other siblings, and for some reason, I was blessed to do pretty well in school. And one day in a mathematics test, a very complex one, I got 99 out of 100, and I was so happy. He normally wouldn't take a lot of interest, but I went running home to share this with him. And the first thing he said to me was, "Why didn't you get 100?" Now, some would say that's cruel, and certainly some of my brothers and sisters would have just folded up with their head down and walked away. But for some reason with me, and I don't know if I should give him the credit that he understood my personality better than I think, but he unleashed that passion in me. My response to that was, "Oh yes, I'll show you." And to this day, there's often times, and he's been gone for about 10 years now, when I think back, what would my dad think? But for whatever reason, it unleashed this passion, this drive, this commitment that I found in just about every leader. And I found this type of story. So first of all, I think that passion has to be unleashed. Whether it's in all people or not, I still haven't determined, but I think it's in more than we think, but that has just not happened for some reason. And once that happened, it was just no looking back. Now, the kinds of skills, I mean, I've also studied this for a while. During my time at Royal Bank, we were very fortunate to be exposed to many consultants and many gurus on the topic of leadership and so on over the years. And, you know, we went through the periods, and I say periods because it usually lasts about 5 to 7 years, where it was, oh, I don't know, maybe you need to set a vision. You have to be a visionary and everybody needs to then follow. Then there was a period where they talked about, oh, you need to be very specific about goals and objectives. And they took that even further to, you know, pay for performance. And these were the kinds of things that would make you a successful leader. And then there was the softer side about employee engagement and care. And I don't want to sound too cynical. I think all of those had elements of importance and you can be used in your leadership roles. But again, I sort of stood back and thought to myself, there is no silver bullet on what is needed to be a good leader. In fact, I would say leadership is, for the most part, a lot of common sense. But you do have to have the passion because you're trying to move several people or even thousands of people at the same time. So you just cannot sort of give up. You have to constantly weave the vision. There is a vision, but you need to weave that into your conversation. You need to be engaged, lead by example, and of course, set goals. Like I said, all of these things are part of it. But in the end, I don't think there is, as I said, any silver bullet. And I don't think that these gurus necessarily have it right. It seemed to me, however cynical this might sound, like it was the flavor of the month. It might have been for 5 years, but it was sort of the flavor of the month. And, you know, some of the research today even says that employee engagement, despite all of this cycling through of these concepts over the years, is still somewhat weak. So maybe that's the best way for me. It's common sense, I think. And then employing some of these different skills that, and let me see, tools, I guess, that people have given you over the years.
So you have to unleash the passion.
Yes.
There's no silver bullet.
Right.
So with these two things combined, how do you really try to sell a strategic vision to a team that you're leading?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to demonstrate that passion in everything you do. You have to lead by example. I think sometimes face-to-face is really good, but also talking to broader groups so they hear the message all at the same time. So it's a couple levels of engagement. I think obviously you have to have the technical goals and objectives, but in addition to that, I think you just have to show employees how much you care about the organization, how much you care about the vision, and how much you care about them. And you have to convince them, so to speak. And I can talk about different ways to do that, but convince them that your heart's in the right place, that you truly do care about them, that if we win individually, we win collectively. And, you know, I think a lot of time needs to be spent on that whole communication piece. Yeah, you have to have the tacticals, you have to have the key performance indicators, you have to have some degree of pay for performance. Let me just add one little thing here. One thing I did learn in mid-career in my journey was that often in the business world and in your personal world, if you've got challenges, you can find the answers in the opposite world. So often in my business life, when I've been challenged by some kind of issue, I can look to a similar situation in my personal life and say, how would I respond? And I usually find the answers. And I do that to this day. I'll give you a real quick one on pay for performance, because we all know we do need to set some goals and objectives. So once when my daughter was young, we started a concept in our family called for no reason gifts. For no reason, one day we bought her a keyboard, had it in the trunk of the car, something she really wanted. She was about 12 years old. We gave her the keys. She went into the trunk and she just started to cry. She couldn't believe it. She said, why? It's not my birthday. It's not Christmas. What is it? Well, we told her just because we love you and we care. Now, we had been giving her some allowance, pay for performance. And it worked for a few weeks, but we found ourselves eventually, and I think companies find this, expecting certain performance, not getting it and paying them anyways. So, but what I noted, it didn't last forever, but I noted the commitment and her appreciation for caring took that sort of performance, her behavior in a positive fashion for a much longer period than the allowance ever did. Now that works for some people. You know, there's people in high risk, I don't know, foreign exchange traders that just flow on pay for performance and they make their millions of dollars and off they go into the sunset. But a lot of people are sort of, they're suppressed by this pressure that if they don't do this, they won't get a certain income and they've got a family to feed. And it actually is counterproductive. So everybody's different, I guess, is one of the lessons in that. But the real lesson I wanted to say was, you know, show people you care and show it at all those different levels. And I believe you'll get engagement. Of course, you must reward. You must be sincere. In one of my roles, I had 8,000 employees, not all reporting to me, but through different layers. And I used to, call me crazy, but I used to stay till 7, 8 o'clock at night responding individually emails. Just they'd send me something and I'd respond to them and spend a whole bunch of time explaining. Maybe they were beefing about something, doesn't matter. Spend that time, show them you care. And I knew that if I did that, it wouldn't just get to that one person. They'd be telling their friends, my God, this person took this time to do this. So again, it's weaving that concept of care. It's that constant messaging. It's that passion that you never stop. These are all softer things. I would say that the tools in support of that are the more tactical things, like key performance indicators and pay for performance. So again, a little bit long-winded, but I really believe nice guys finish first, not last.
Great. So Pam, you've got this passion for your job. You've got the passion for the organization you work for. You've got the passion for the team that you're leading. How do you make this fast, long-lasting impact on the organization? Like them recognizing you as actually making an impact on their organization?
Well, I would say it sort of goes back to this concept of caring. You see, most organizations, they just want results. In the end, that's what the shareholder wants. They want results, and rightly so. I'm a shareholder and have some investments as well, and I expect those results. It's just a matter of how you get there. And I believe if you can motivate and bring on board the masses, not that, again, that you don't have tools, but the bottom line will take care of itself because they'll do all the right things. So what you leave with the organization is almost it might be a changed culture, maybe it's not, maybe that's the way it is, but you leave a culture, a feeling that this organization does care, not just about the bottom line, but about me and about our success and how we reward each other, right up to the person that they see in their world, whoever that is, as their leader, their guide, their person that believes in it as well. So again, some people might say that this is a little soft and not, the way some organizations might think today, but I believe I've proven in my career that this does work. And that same place where I had 8,000 employees when I left, this is the honest to God's truth, I had almost 1,400 letters and thank you notes when I left that post from rank and file, saying I made the employees feel like I did care. And I made them feel that they were part of a bigger team and that, again, individually and collectively, we would succeed. I think if an organization has that stamp on it, it can do almost anything. I'll give you one more very quick story about that. There was a gentleman one time who came into my office and said, something about some business matter. And I could tell there was something wrong with him. I had known him for years. So I said to him, so, hey, Ray, what's going on? He said, oh, Pam, you don't understand. He said, my wife left me. I've got 2 kids. I'm up to my eyeballs in personal problems. I've got to find a house I can't afford to. I got to get my girls registered in a school. And I just don't know where to begin. Plus, I'm depressed as could be. Apparently, there was another man involved. So I just looked at him and I said this, because I knew he was a guy that wasn't going to play any games. I said, you know what, Ray, you go take 2 weeks off. You deal with these issues as best you can. I realize your heart's still going to be broken after 2 weeks, but go deal with them. And don't count this as your vacation. Get some of these tasks done and let me know in 2 weeks where you are. 2 weeks later, he showed up. He said, Pam, I can't begin to thank you. He said, you know, I found a home. I got my girls registered. Yeah, my heart's still hurting, but at least I can think. I can think and I can start to heal. I'm just going to say this. You can't do that for every employee, and some of them will play a game. But that type of caring spreads to hundreds, if not thousands. And that's not why I did it. I did it because I thought it was the right thing to do. And that man would literally walk on water for me if he could. So I felt good about it as an individual. So there's an example of what I mean of the things that you can do that can spread and leave that kind of culture with the organization. And I do think it will give you a bottom line.
Well, I think all these leadership lessons apply very much so to project managers, because project managers are also project leaders. And we need a lot of these tidbits in our life. I want to ask you.
Can I just say something to that?
Sure. No, go ahead. Yeah.
I think in project leadership, maybe even more so, because there you're often, and I've studied this a little bit too, you're often pulling together a diverse group of people that you've never ever worked with before. So the connection isn't there in any stage. So you got to work even harder to make that connection and make that team gel and understand that our individual successes are collective success. So I think under project management, it's even more critical. Yeah.
And our time span for the projects can be way, way shorter. Like you said, you're not working with them for a long period of time. Yeah, amazing. Mm-hmm. If anyone out there wants to get in touch with you, Pam, how can they do so?
Well, I mean, there's the usual social media. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. Of course, they can contact through you. I don't even mind saying my email is tppitz@cogeco.ca. So multiple ways.
Good. It's good to know that Cogeco is still operating in Southern Ontario. It was there when I lived there many years ago. So they're strong. And
yeah, it's very competitive between them and one or two others. Yeah.
Good, great. Well, I want to thank you once again for coming on the show, Pam, and I want to wish you an amazing weekend and a beautiful week ahead.
Well, same to you. Thank you very much. And I bid the same to all those leaders and potential leaders out there.
Splendid. Fantastic. Well, thank you.